A large number of troops are charging towards your positions. You immediately pick up your machine gun and shoot them down, wiping them out soon. Suddenly, several tanks rush out of the smoke, but your machine gun fire cannot penetrate their armor at all. With no other choice, you and your teammates quickly retreat to the tank base. You drive the tank and take aim. We can see that this shell is made of a solid piece of alloy cast with a copper driving band. The shell relies entirely on its own kinetic energy to penetrate tank armor, and you successfully destroy one tank. You continue shooting at the enemy tanks, but little do you know that a tank is aiming at you from a distance. It fires an armor-piercing bullet at you, but misses. You immediately turn around and shoot at the enemy tank, but your shells are deflected by the tank's heavy armor. The enemy tank fires another shell, and this time you aren't so lucky. The shell penetrates your tank. You quickly crawl out of the burning tank and run back to the tank base in the rear. You drive a new tank into the fray. With the appearance of enemy tanks, you immediately fire an APC armor-piercing capped projectile. This armor-piercing bullet is produced with high alloy steel, a high explosive filler, a concealed luminous tracer, and a copper driving band. After the shell penetrates the tank's armor, the delay fuse detonates the high explosives, killing the crew inside. The enemy tanks are destroyed, and you lead the infantry into the enemy territory. A tank is found firing at friendly troops, so you hurriedly fire an armor-piercing bullet at the enemy, but the armor-piercing bullet is bounced off by the tank's sloped armor. Seeing this, you immediately load an APC-BC armor-piercing capped ballistic cap round. This shell doesn't have a pointed head, so when it hits the tank armor, a spin effect occurs. After the enemy tank is pierced, it immediately releases smoke bombs and retreats. After the smoke clears, his position has become far away. Despite this, you still fire an APC-BC round, but due to the large wind resistance of the projectile, although the shell hits the tank, it fails to penetrate due to insufficient kinetic energy. So, you immediately reload one with a better aerodynamic shape. The wind resistance is much smaller now, and you successfully penetrate the enemy tank's armor. You move on, but as a result, there is a tank in front of you already aiming at you. You have no idea, but he takes aim and shoots an armor-piercing bullet at you. The cannonball hits directly, but since your armor is surface hardened, the head of the armor-piercing bullet is directly broken. You immediately turn the muzzle, and just as you are about to fire, you think, could it be that the enemy armor is also surface hardened? After that, you immediately prepare an armor-piercing bullet with a metal hood. Just as you launch, you suddenly remember that a gap will increase wind resistance, so you quickly put the armor-piercing bullet in front, install a metal hood, then reload and launch. This projectile is made of high alloy steel with a high-strength metal cap at the front, low-carbon steel casing, high explosive filler, a tracer, and a copper driving band. When the shell hits the tank armor, the cap deforms and fragments to protect the steel core in the back, while preventing the shell from stripping off the armor. The enemy tank is destroyed. You move on. Suddenly, a tank in the distance shoots at you. He fires an armor-piercing bullet, but this shell is an APCR armor-piercing composite rigid round, featuring a soft metal jacket, a hood, a copper driving band, and a tungsten alloy core inside. When the shell hits the armor, the jacket is blocked, but the hard core penetrates the heavy armor and destroys your tank. You get out of the tank and evacuate to the rear tank base. You drive a new tank towards the enemy, maneuver through the woods, and aim at the enemy tank. You fire a tungsten core APCR round. After the shell hits the tank, the hard core penetrates the armor and blows the tank back. Then you find another tank, but it is far away. The enemy tank takes the lead. Due to the relatively light mass of the hardcore APCR projectile, after flying a great distance, the speed has slowed down a lot, so even though the cannonball hits you, it doesn't break through. Obviously, your shells won't penetrate at this distance, so you load an APDS, armor-piercing discarding sabot projectile. Upon firing, the sabot separates after the shell exits the barrel, leaving only a small caliber tungsten alloy core to advance and penetrate the armor of enemy tanks, destroying them. You move on and find a tank, but you quickly load an APDS bullet. However, the tank's heavy armor blocks the APDS shell. That's when the enemy tank spots you and fires an APFSDS armor-piercing fin-stabilized discarding sabot round at you. This armor-piercing projectile has a steel core but with a sabot and tail fin composition. The sabot separates from the core and the armor-piercing bullet pierces your tank. You escape quickly, run towards the tank base, and then drive a new tank to attack the enemy. You secretly target the enemy tank and load a tail-stabilized APFSDS projectile. The shell detaches from its core after it exits the barrel, The core consists of a front armor-piercing module, a tungsten alloy core, a tracer, and a tail fin. Due to the blessing of the tungsten alloy, the tank is immediately pierced, and now you can finally move forward. Suddenly, you notice an enemy tank in the distance. You are both aiming at each other at the same time, so you fire armor-piercing rounds. The length to diameter ratio of the enemy's armor-piercing bullet is larger, and the internal tungsten alloy core is also longer. When the armor-piercing bullet hits the armor-piercing block first smashes a big hole, allowing the core to penetrate easily. The tank you were driving is destroyed, and since your projectile's aspect ratio is not large enough, it didn't penetrate the enemy tank. You quickly crawl out of the destroyed tank, run towards the rear base, and drive a new tank to ambush the enemy. You target the enemy tank that appears. The penetrator of this armor-piercing round is made from a single piece of depleted uranium. When it hits the tank armor, there is a self-sharpening effect. You have successfully destroyed the enemy tank. You move on after destroying the enemy, but suddenly there is an enemy tank in the distance, and it shoots an armor-piercing bullet at you.